Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran. Today we are going to run through, once again, the updates that have happened over the last week. I say a week, it's been a few days, but with Spurs at the moment, a lot happens in a short space of time. We're also going to look at transfers and managers, and a little bit about season tickets at the end. So we're going to start with something positive first. I know that sounds strange, but there are positives happening with Spurs at the moment. Not directly with the club itself, but for the players. So we'll start with Spurs ladies. Shalina Zadorsky, who is a Canadian international, and Ria Percival of New Zealand. They've both been selected for the squads for the Tokyo Olympics, so massive well done to those. They've both been involved in the Olympic squads before, and Percival is actually the most capped international for New Zealand of all time. So massive, massive congrats to her. Congrats to both. I hope they absolutely smash it. Spurs players on the men's front, every single player of ours that has travelled to the Euros has progressed out of the group stages, with some of them coming up playing each other. So that'll be an interesting one to watch to see who comes out on top of the Spurs Giants. Now we'll move on to transfers. Where would we be without transfers that I don't believe we should be making or even bother having our names linked with stuff, but it's always going to happen. So a possible outgoing player, Ben Davies, he's been a great servant to the club, handy to have around. I don't think I'd want to see him go because I see him in a different role. But if you're looking at it from a wing-back perspective, although we don't really need to sign anyone on the left because Sessegnon is on his way back, obviously. Reguilon is obviously our starting man there at the moment. Those two have all the attributes they need. They can both get up and down the pitch. They've both got good crossing ability. We've seen from Sessegnon, certainly at his time at Fulham, that he likes to join the attack in the box, and he's put away a few goals in his time. He had a very good loan spell in Germany as well. As for Ben Davies, for me, if we're going to keep him, he needs to play in a back three as a left-sided centre-back. Chris Coleman has come out and said it many times that he feels that's his best position and that's where he should play. So if we play with three at the back, yes, by all means, keep him. Although on the flip side, if we do ever have to play a bit defensively, which we don't want, obviously, he's very handy to have as a defensive left-back. But we want 30 million for him. 30 million for Ben Davies. I'm sorry. Look, we all love Ben Davies as a character, like the energy he provides for us. He wears his heart on his sleeve when he's on that pitch. But 30 million is a lot of money to ask for Ben Davies, in my opinion. So I don't think we're going to get that at all. So we could very well see that Ben is still with us next season, which wouldn't be a bad thing. I think he's a very good influence around the club. He's got a good head on his shoulders. So yeah. Right, there's been this weird one come out over the last week that apparently there is a player and the move is ready. It just depends on whether the incoming manager, whoever that may be, whether they approve this signing or not. So they've announced it as a mystery player. There's been a lot of speculation as to who it could be. A lot of people think it might be Anderson, who obviously was on loan at Fulham last season of Lyon. We have good links with them. And it shouldn't be a problem to get that one over line. But I wouldn't really see that as a mystery signing. I don't see why any manager wouldn't want him in the squad. If we can ship a couple of centre-backs out, he'd be very good partnered with somebody else, which would lead on to the next person we're linked with. But we'll just talk about more potential mystery players. I wonder if the mystery player could actually be Gareth Bale. Now, we know that Ancelotti has said that he wants him to play. We know that obviously he enjoys playing his golf out in Spain. It's a more relaxed way of life, and Gareth Bale is a very, very relaxed character in that sense. But I think his time in England has given him sort of like that camaraderie and banter that he perhaps doesn't get in Spain because of the language barrier, although he does speak Spanish. I know he's been criticised heavily, but he's not as far ahead with his Spanish as people would like him to be at this moment in time. So look, that's a possibility and I would love it. And that is one you would expect that a manager would have to approve. Are they going to use him because of the finances involved? Like his wages are big. Even if we bring him on loan next season, we still had to pay, a decent chunk of wages. So I wonder if it's that one because that would definitely need improvement. improvement, it would need improvement from a manager, because they would need to know bringing someone in on that money and of that calibre if he's going to be played, because if he's not, there's no point whatsoever. But moving on to that potential partner for Anderson, we have been linked with, and look, I don't think this one's going to happen at all, the young French international centre-back Jules Kunday from Sevilla. Like, he's got an 80 million release clause. He's been absolutely fantastic. Like, he's been playing regular football for the last 4 years, and I think he's only just like turned 22 this year. He's doing well at the Euros. But I just think for the money involved, it probably won't happen. Look, we saw what happened with Sanchez. He cost us, what was it, 42, 46 million? Meh. He looked like he had potential. I do think Jules Kunday is a better player and has more of a prospect for the future. But there's going to be a lot of clubs circling him, and he's got his hopes on Real Madrid. And why would he not? Mbappe is meant to be going there. Benzema's there. So there's international links. Although at Spurs, you've got Levys, Sissoko, although Sissoko's probably going, so it would only be Levys if he stays, and Ndombele. So there's French links in both, but I just don't think he's going to want to step down to Spurs because Sevilla have qualified for the Champions League, so I don't see that one happening. Us, Arsenal and PSG apparently are all in the race for Lazio attacker Joaquin Correa. Another one that until we get a manager in, I just don't see it happening at all, because we need to know exactly what formation style they're going to play. And the reason why Lazio are willing to get rid of him is because he doesn't fit into Sarri's formation. So that's why they're looking to move him on. Another player that we've been linked with in the last couple of weeks is Palhinha from Portugal, who plays for Sporting Lisbon. Like, he did very well in the 45 minutes that he came on for Portugal, which will have a lot of people looking at him. Sporting Lisbon apparently want the full 60 million release clause. However, we have to remember that the Portuguese league is a selling league. 60 million is a lot of money for a player from that league, because it's a very different style of league. And even in the Euros and like international games, we often see players step up and do amazing, then don't do so much at club level. Renato Sanchez is a key example of that. But as it is a selling league, I'd expect that the price will probably drop, and they will hope for a bidding war is what they will want. That's best case scenario for them. Who else? One that's probably not going to happen that we are linked with is right back Tariq Lampty from Brighton. It looks like he's set to stay at Brighton, or they are the words of Fabrizio Romano, I think. Look, I wouldn't blame him for staying. At the end of the day, if you're going to move across to somewhere like Spurs, like, although we're not right up there anymore, the fact is that he's still young. Doherty is most likely going to stay because we've only had him for a year. He's the more senior player. And certainly if Santo was to come in to manage us, he's going to use Doherty. He's tried, tested and trusted for him. So I feel like, Lamptey would have to work his way into the squad. And if you're going to potentially next season walk into Brighton as their first choice right back, that at his age is much better than coming to a club where he's going to be rotation. So he looks set to stay there, and I wish him all the best. If I was in his position, I would probably do the same. A lot of young players make the mistake of jumping up to bigger clubs, and it actually holds them back a little bit because of lack of game time. He's still going to be in the best league in the world, in my opinion. And if Potter stays with them, I wish he was coming to us, but if Potter stays with them, he's got a great manager to help develop him, and it can only be good, and then move on when he's ready to demand a first team place at one of the top 6 clubs. And then we can't get away from it without talking about Harry Kane. Harry Kane has come out and said there has been no contact with Spurs whatsoever on his future. And we knew that was going to happen because he said he's firmly focused on the Euros. The fact is, he is the captain. He hasn't scored a goal yet. Although I feel that is going to change as the tournament goes on. He'll get in positions, he will score goals, and hopefully it'll be in the big games. Fingers crossed that he smashes in a hat-trick against Germany. Can't see that happening, but it'd be lovely. So yeah, for now, no more on that bid from Manchester City. Now let's talk managers. So the manager that we are linked with this week is Nuno Espirito Santo, former Wolves manager. Look, Apparently, and this is from Duncan Castle, who we know is not the most reliable journalist, however, he seems to get things right quite a lot when it's to do with a client of George Mendes. He was the one that broke the news first about Jose Mourinho going to Roma. And there's been a few other transfers. Anything linked with George Mendes, he seems to be quite reliable on. So he's come out and said that apparently Nuno is not sure that he will get the Tottenham job. So talks have been held, but no formal offer has been made. It's just conversations at the moment, but apparently the initial conversations have gone well. He was obviously linked with Everton and Crystal Palace. The rumours are that the Everton move broke down because he wanted so many of his own backroom staff come in. Now, we wouldn't let Conte bring in the 7 that he wanted. Apparently, Nuno wants a lot more. He wants to work with his full team. And Spurs obviously want Ledley King involved. They want Ryan Mason to continue his development. There'll be a few other coaches that we want to stick around. So, if it's going to come down to coaches, I'm sorry, you're not going to be managing at Spurs. End of. And also, Daniel Levy has his doubts. Now, this is a good thing. Daniel Levy has doubts about this one. I know we're getting annoyed that we haven't got a manager in, but you've got to remember now, Paratici is the guy ultimately in charge of who we're linked with, who we bring in. Daniel Levy has kind of passed that on. However, he did promise us in his statement at the end of the season that we were going to look for somebody that's more of the Tottenham DNA, free-flowing, attacking football. Nuno is not that man. So Daniel Levy's doubts are the fact that he's going to continue with this pragmatic style. He's also worried about his reluctance to blood the young players, which is another doubt that we had over Jose Mourinho. However, he wasn't too bad at having youngsters involved, as we saw with Tanganga. You know, he gave him some games at the end of his first season in charge. Not so much in his full season in charge, but, you know, COVID and everything kind of threw a lot of that out the window, really. And it was just a very strange season. So, yeah, that's 2 of the reasons. And then also, apparently Nuno would want to have a major role in the discussions of the signings that we make. And to be honest, I can't blame him. As a manager of a club, you're not going to want to go there and just be told year on year which players you're going to have, and you just have to work with them. Part of the reason it worked for him at Wolves in those first 2 seasons was because he had a big hand in who they signed. He's obviously got a good eye for a player because they built a fantastic squad. Like, there's no doubt about it. So I don't think he's want to have a complete back seat and just be told, look, these are the players we're going for. They fit the mould. That's it. Deal with it. So those 3 things are big worries. And, you know, it's the first time in a little while that we've been able to say, like, well done, Daniel Levy. He wants to get it right. And he's promised us as fans something. And he's had so much criticism. Why is he going to bring in a manager that's not going to follow that? If we talk about a player that he might want, apparently Nuno wants to bring in Conor Coady. He's been his lieutenant there. He's a very good player. His communication is unreal amongst the back line. It plays very well in a back 3, and if we were to sign Nuno as manager, we would be playing with a back 3. So it makes sense. Conor Coady looks very good, very comfortable in a back 3. Tyrone Mings for England has come out and said many times about how vocal Conor Coady is at the back, how much of an organiser he is. So that would be one I would expect to happen if Nuno comes in. He's also liking Jules Kunday. So the pros for bringing him in is that he's free, he's got Premier League experience, and he can work on a budget. All those 3 things he has going for him, and he has proven. The cons are his pragmatic style and his poor final season at Wolves. Now, that last season at Wolves, again, is one that requires some research. Looking at it on the face of it, it was a bad season. However, you need to remember that Wolves had a lot of injuries. They lost their top goal scorer through the fractured skull, Jimenez. Players moving out of the club, you know, over to Liverpool. And then Doherty to us, you got to remember he was a massive part of their success down that right-hand touchline, knocking balls in, breaking into the box and scoring goals for them. They were missing that. So a lot of key men had moved on or been injured, and that affects things massively, especially when you haven't managed to bring in the players you want. And then also they had to play a young man up front for pretty much most of the season who wasn't expected to. He was there to work his way into the side and learn from others. He was one for the future. So that's enough about Nuno. Apparently, we are still looking at other managers. Roberto Mancini is somebody that has been spoken about, certainly. Look, he's doing fantastically with Italy. They are unbeaten in their last 30 international games in all competitions. They've won all 3 of their games so far at the Euros and also have not conceded a single goal. He's proven in the Premier League. A very good option. However, he's going to want a good budget. He will obviously need to be compensated for Italy. So there are reasons why that might not happen. And also he might not want to come to Spurs at the end of the day for the Europa Conference League football that we've got. It's a massive project and top managers seem to want to avoid it. Also, Potter and Ten Hag are still on our list. Potter. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm sure more developments will come. But, initially they were saying last night that Nuno could be announced today or tomorrow. But I'm not sure yet because so much has broken down. So that's enough on managers. The last thing that we'll speak about here is season tickets. Now this is interesting. I decided not to renew my season ticket, not because I'm a bad Spurs fan, but purely because I work very early in the morning, although that's now set to change because I had an interview this week and managed to get myself a new job, which is starting next month, which is better hours for me and a nice pay rise. So realistically, I probably could have renewed my season ticket, although actually the midweek games would have been harder to make because I'm finishing at normal work times now. So to get from work home, changed and up to Spurs would have been a bit of a pain in the backside anyway. Also, the club's just in a weird situation. It's an extra £1,000 a year that I now don't have to spend. And I hate the midweek games and I hate Sunday evening games. So it's not because I don't support Spurs, but I can do that from home. But I will make myself a member so I can get priority access to other tickets, which would be nice in the sense that I can see more of the stadium because I sit in the south stand, which is great. And it's fantastic, the bar and everything are amazing. The atmosphere is great. But it would be nice to look at different areas of the stadium and have a walk around there. So, yeah. But anyway, back to the main thing of season tickets. There are people coming out that are as far down as 39,000 places on the waiting list that have been offered season tickets. 39,000. That's a lot of current season ticket holders that obviously didn't renew. That would also mean that plenty of people that are on that waiting list are also turning down season tickets. This will be a massive, massive worry for Daniel Levy. Look, at the end of the day, do I think they'll struggle to sell them all? Of course they won't, because there's always people out there that are willing to chuck their money into this because they're desperate to do it. And do you know what? If you've never had a season ticket, I advise you to get one. I was lucky in the sense that I was quite far down on the waiting list. I think I was in the 40,000 area. The reason I got one is because we had that season at Wembley, which is massive capacity, like nearly 90,000 seats. So I was very lucky to have that. So I went for it. And then I got a season at the new stadium, which was fantastic. And I absolutely loved it. But it does come with bad parts to it, travelling up there on the weekdays is a pain in the backside. Travelling up there for a Sunday night game, I hate because you get home late, and if we've lost, right, on a Sunday evening or a weekday evening, there is nothing worse knowing that you're going to get less sleep than normal and you've got to go to work the next day. It's just not great. But the pros of a season ticket definitely outweigh the cons. So if you've got the money, I advise you to do it, at least for a season, 2 seasons. Treat yourself. You should do it at some point in your life. If I get the chance again, I'll probably do it again. But for now, it's not the right time for me, and it's great because other people get the opportunity. But yes, they are struggling at the moment because lots of fans are turning them down. And obviously, financially, there are loads of people that are in a mess at the moment. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. The channel is growing at a nice little pace. Let's keep it going. Let's see if we can get up to 300 subscribers by Wednesday. That'd be fantastic. And you guys can make that happen. So help out. Let's grow this channel. If you enjoyed it, support it with a like, as always. Stay safe, guys. And come on, you Spurs.